Hello guys and welcome to the Law Putra's YouTube channel. I am Jagannath Kulkarni. Today we will discuss the famous, rather the infamous case popular Tukaram and another versus State of Maharashtra. This case talks about the atrocities that are being conducted against women, especially by the people who are in authority and especially the police authority, and the aftermath of it, and how the courts interpret the whole incident, and how the public outcry, or rather say the public activism, leads to the change in the criminal laws. Let us see the case. This case, Tukaram and another versus State of Maharashtra, it is finally decided by the Supreme Court of India, and the decision was given on 15th of September 1978. We can see the citations, that is year 1979 All India Reporter paragraph 185, year 1979 Supreme Court Reports volume 1 page 810, year 1979 Supreme Court Cases volume 2 page 143. The bench which gave this decision consisted of Justice A.D. Koshal, Justice Jaswant Singh and Justice P.S. Kailasam. Now let us see what was the case. The basics of the case happened on Sunday 26th of March 1972, and it happened in the Desaiganj police station, and the convicts, that is the active involved, was Tukaram was head constable and Ganpat was constable of that police station. Baburao was a police writer in that police station who recorded the statement of the victim and written the FIR. Victim was Mathura. She was a minor, she was orphan and tribal girl who had been summoned to police station of around 9 p.m. Gama is brother of Mathura, Ashok is lover of Mathura, and Tunshi is Ashok's aunt, lover of Mathura's aunt, and Lakshman is Tunshi's husband. So these are the protagonists in our case. Report was lodged in police station by Gama that Mathura had been kidnapped by Ashok, Tunshi and Lakshman. Gama, Mathura, Ashok, Tunshi and Lakshman were summoned to police station at 9 p.m. and at around 10:30 p.m. they were allowed to leave the police station. While they were about to leave, Ganpat caught Mathura through entrance gate of police station, took her to backside of police station on roof, forced himself on her and raped her. Tukaram also fondled Mathura's private parts, but being highly intoxicated himself, he could not rape her. Mathura's medical examination after almost 20 hours after found no fresh ruptures and also no semen on her pubic hair, and her vagina admitted 2 fingers easily. That was the irony. Then the trial was conducted and Sessions Court acquitted Ganpat and Tukaram, the convict, stating Mathura to be habitual to sexual intercourse, which led by the medical examination of her done after 20 hours of the incident, and termed this case of passive submission. Then High Court reversed this order, stating passive submission, whatever was considered by Sessions Court, was due to threat and consent was not free. Mathura's consent, which the Sessions Court considered, was not free, and consent being free was described in the Indian Penal Code section 375. Supreme Court upheld Sessions Court opinion, and it stated consent was not a passive consent, no marks of injury of Mathura's body, no signs of resistance, lack of attempt in raising an alarm, etc. are relevant. Supreme Court also totally disregarded the fact that Mathura was induced to give her consent due to various reasons, and Supreme Court regarded this incident of rape as a peaceful affair. It also considered the 2 fingers test, which is highly demeaning to rape survivor, and Supreme Court also acquitted Ganpat and Tukaram. Aftermath of this verdict, Supreme Court's verdict, led to protests across the nation, across India. Many women's protection organizations came into being. Saheli, typically in Delhi. Before that, in January 1980, Lotika Sarkar was also involved in formation of first feminist group in India against rape, that is Forum Against Rape, later renamed Forum Against Oppression of Women. This forum organized national conference which started debate for legal reforms that highlighted issues of crimes against women and difficulty of seeking judicial help in such crimes in India. All this aftermath led the government of India to amend the rape laws in India. Section 114A of Evidence Act, very pertinent, which said if the victim says that she did not consent to the sexual intercourse, the court shall presume that she did not consent. This is the major amendment in Evidence Act, Section 114A. Also, Section 376, which considers the punishment for rape of Indian Penal Code, also underwent a change prescribing the severe punishment for the rape committed by person in authority. It also enacted and added Section 376A, Section 376B, Section 376C, which is sexual intercourse by a person in authority, which is very pertinent after this case, and Section 376D. It made custodial rape punishable, which were further amended in 2003 after again yet another infamous Nirbhaya case in Delhi. Burden of proof shifted from the accuser to the accused once intercourse was established, and this had been established in case of Mathura. Added provisions for in-camera trials, no open court provisions, and prohibition on victims' identity disclosure, and it also provided for the tougher sentences. This case, Tukaram and another versus State of Maharashtra, teaches us many lessons. In the words of Louise O'Neill, his statement is very pertinent about this case. He said, "They are all innocent until proven guilty, but not me. I am a liar until I am proven honest." These words are very important, very pertinent for this case, Tukaram and another versus State of Maharashtra, that how the courts interprets, how the evidences are being considered, and how the victims again victimized by the courts. So today we discussed the case Tukaram and another versus State of Maharashtra. This is typically known as Mathura custodial rape case. Thank you very much.